From New York, this is WIUR Radio.
What's going on, Gales? Welcome back to Harry Highlights. Yes, sir. This is Harry Highlights. This is I think, our sixth episode. So, welcome back to Harry Highlights. I'm your host, Harry Fisher. This is the weekend sports review right here at Iona University radio station, live here at the Murphy Center. I'm Harry Fisher again, and for the next 30 minutes, we're going to be breaking down everything that went down in the sports world this past week, starting with the Iona Gales, and then going on and talking about what happened in the sports world around the nation and all around the world. So again, this is Harry Highlights, and this is the weekend review that brings you coverage around sports happening around Iona, New York, and all around the nation. So I hope all of you guys are doing really well out there, and Easter's coming. Easter's coming up, so we'll have Easter break coming up, getting a couple of days off. So let's start with Iona men's baseball. So baseball had a great series against Niagara. They went on the road and played Niagara. The final score was Iona 2 and Niagara 3. Niagara scored all 3 runs early on and then held on while Iona scored 2 runs but couldn't complete the comeback. It was a close, low-scoring game decided by just 1 run. Niagara scored early and held the lead, while Iona tried to come back late but fell short. Iona's pitching was really solid. Besides the 3 runs, the bullpen was able to come out and just hold Niagara to only 3 runs. And then the offense came through, just came up short in the ninth, but just just came up short in the ninth. But in the 4th inning, Jordan Overton came up clutch as he hit a home run with 2 RBIs. And that brought the Gales within 1. But let's take a look at the MAC standings. Currently, the Gales are ranked 9th in the MAC conference, so still lots of games left to be played, but a tough series against Niagara, but still a great game that they played over the weekend. And it'll be interesting to see for the Gales as we go forward. Right now, the top team to beat in the MAC is Fairfield U. So they still haven't played Fairfield U, but they got Fairfield coming up on their schedule. So it'll be interesting to see how the Gales go moving forward. So a lot of optimism with this team with hitting and especially with the bullpen. Next, let's go to Iona softball. So on Saturday, March 28th, Iona won both games of the doubleheader against Merrimack. The Gales scored a total of 9 runs and allowed three in one of the game and only allowed 3 in one of the games, with key offensive contributions including a 3 RBI home run by Brooke Acker. On Sunday, March 29th, Iona lost the final game of the series to Merrimack 3-2. The team split the weekend series, with Merrimack taking the last one. The next Iona softball game is on April 1st against the LIU Sharks. The game is being played at LIU Softball Complex in Brooklyn, New York. So, solid series performance by the Iona softball team. Tremendous contributions by their offense. However, Merrimack did take the final game of the series, but still a lot of optimism for both baseball and softball, and it'll be interesting to see what these teams will do moving forward. So Let's talk about let's shift over to professional sports, and I want to talk quickly about March Madness. We got to talk a lot about March Madness, and what happened yesterday with UConn and Duke, and um, what happened with the other games. Yesterday was a thrilling game. UConn went up against Duke in a thrilling game. Duke was up by 2, but then UConn, Braylon Mullins with the clutch three-pointer with 1.1 second left, fired it all the way from the logo and gave UConn a 1-point lead with 1 second left. That game was a thrilling game. It was back and forth, but Duke, they were up 2, um, but a costly turnover decided the game. And then UConn, when Braylon Mullins had a chance to knock down that three, he cashed in, and for the first time, and for the third time in the last 6 years, for the third time in the last 3.5 years, the Yukon Huskies are on their way back to the Final Four. And a lot of people, I know a lot of people, especially me, we had a lot of people had Duke going to the Final Four, and there were some questions about this Yukon Huskies team in terms with, can they make it to the Final Four? Can this team hold up with shooting and defending? Because we know that Yukon did run in some tough battles with St. John's and with some other good teams in the Big East Conference, but they really put together a good game, and they were able to come together to upset Duke yesterday. Alex Caravan came together and played a great game. He had a handful of rebounds in that game. And once again, he was just a phenomenal leader, like always. I want to mention this thing by Dan Hurley. Like Dan Hurley, I remember he talked a lot about this, about Alex Caravan. Alex Caravan, he is like a coach on the team. Alex Caravan, as we know, he's been at UConn for 4 years, was a part of the 2 national championship teams. And Dan Hurley really talked a lot about how Alex Caravan is a tremendous leader and his players respect him. And yesterday he came through for the Yukon Huskies, and he really helped give them leverage to win a tough, grueling game against a tough Duke Blue Devils team that fit that like pretty much 50% of people on ESPN, or 50% of people around the world, had Duke winning the national championship. So major win by UConn. So they are on their way to Indianapolis to play for a national championship once again. So we will be back after the intermission, and we will talk a lot more about the NCAA tournament. We got to talk about baseball. Both the Yankees and Mets opened up their series. Yankees started off 3-0, swept the Giants. Mets are are off to a hot start too. They won. They're 2-1 now. They took the first 2 games against the Pirates, but then the Pirates took the final game of the series. And then we'll talk a lot more about the Rangers and the Islanders, and how the Rangers are fighting for the #1 overall draft pick, and the Islanders are still fighting for a playoff spot in uh, that tough, really competitive Metropolitan Division. So we'll be back after the break.
Unstoppable!
This is WIUR Sports Radio.
Hi, I'm Robbie Basil, president of WIUR Radio, and I hope you're enjoying today's show. Have you ever wanted to call the biggest games, the biggest moments for the biggest names for Iona Athletics? Then the newly founded WIUR Sports Radio is the place to be. Launched in January of 2025, our goal is to try and get broadcasters here at Iona an opportunity to learn, succeed, and get a chance to be on air. From getting to call the big moments at the hack, Dinkins trying to go to the rack, denied, Yafet Mundi, to seeing the crack of the bat at City Park.
The line drive into left field, around third, and it kicks away. The Gales are going to win it in 10.
We make those moments happen on our brand new WIUR sports radio platform on Mixer. If you're interested, feel free to reach out to me via email or to the rest of my e-board to join the club. We are WIUR Sports Radio, the new home of Iona Athletics. Now, back to the show on WIUR, Iona University Radio.
We are back after the intermission. So if you're new to WIUR, I'm Harry Fisher and this is Harry Highlights. And again, this is the podcast that brings you coverage of sports going around Iona, all around the state of New York, and all around the sports world. So let's go back to the NCAA tournament. So we were talking about UConn, how UConn upsetted Duke yesterday. We also had Michigan win. We also had Michigan win yesterday to advance to the Final Four. Michigan went on to beat Tennessee. We also had Arizona that went on to beat Arizona that went on to beat Purdue to advance to the Final Four. And we also had Illinois making a statement, and they're going to the Final Four as the 3 seed. And Illinois, I want to talk about Illinois for a second. So Illinois was a so Illinois was one of my top teams to watch going into this tournament because just the way that they've been able to shoot and uh, just the team chemistry that they have. Illinois, they were. I was kind of really expecting Illinois to make some noise in this tournament because they got so much. They got good shooters. They're able to defend, and they're a very physical team. And you know, they really have put together a nice run here in March Madness. They beat Iowa, who Iowa went on a tough hot streak. But Illinois, they were fourth in the Big Ten. They had to go up against, they had to go up against all those tough teams like Michigan, Purdue, uh, Wisconsin, Michigan State. So many great teams in that conference that they really had to go up against, and they had to face Houston, who's been a tough team to beat in the NCAA tournament. I did pick Houston to win the tournament last year, and I had them in my Final Four in one of my brackets this year. But they really had to. They really had to play some tough teams, and now Illinois, they get a chance to play UConn in the Final Four. That's going to be a tough game because Illinois, they're sneaky good, and they've been able to put together some big leads. Like their last couple of games, they won by 10 points. They won by 12 points against Iowa, so they can really get on a good run and they can beat teams down the stretch. And really, their defense has done a really good job of shutting down their opposition's offenses and really elevating and building their leads late in the second half. So it's going to be a tough game. UConn has to play Illinois, and then Arizona will play Michigan. Right now, I have Arizona winning it all. I could see Michigan upsetting. Think Dusty May has done a great job, great turnaround by Michigan, and we know Michigan. They play with a lot of grit. They got size on that team, so it'll be interesting to see. I think it's going to be a competitive game. Both games are going to be really close because I could see Illinois upsetting UConn, or uh, I could potentially see Michigan beating Arizona, and I could see Arizona beating Michigan, but it's going to be a close game. But it's going to come down to who's going to outbattle and who's going to rebound And mostly you got to knock down shots. Whoever can knock down shots, that's going to be the biggest key. So let's swing things over to the MLB. So the Yankees and Mets kicked off their season this past weekend. The Yankees kicked off their season in San Francisco in the Bay Area as they played the San Francisco Giants. The Yankees swept the Giants in a 4-game series. The Mets, however, they played the Pirates this opening they played the Pirates their opening series, and the Mets they took the first 2 games, but then the Pirates won yesterday. We'll talk about the Mets first. So the Mets, Freddie Peralta made his season debut. Pitched really good, went 5 innings, did give up 4 hits, did give up a leadoff hit, and he also gave up a 2-run shot in the first inning, but he was able to recover from that and still find ways to get strikeouts. Still was able to uh, keep the Pirates still to only 3 or 4 runs, but he did go 5 innings, which was very key. And I think for the Mets pitching staff, that's really huge. And then the Mets, their offense was the big key in this game because their offense really had to be the difference. Brett Beatty was a difference with that triple uh, scored that triple on O'Neal Cruz, who overran the fly ball and ended up going into the gap, and then Beatty ended up getting a triple. So uh, the Mets were able to score 4 runs in that game, and then Paul Skeens obviously getting pulled in the first inning. Tough, tough outing from Paul Skeens, but still, it's a long season. I think next outing, Paul Skeens, he'll come out and he'll pitch. He'll pitch more. He'll have a better performance. I think it was just a tough. I think it was just a tough thing. He was coming off the World Baseball Classic. It was his first game, so first game, very tough to dominate in your first game back after pitching in some really tough international games against some tough international opponents. So the Mets ended up taking the first game, and then the Mets won the second game after Luis Roberts Jr. hit a walk-off 3-run bomb to win the game for the Mets. That one was a very long game, 0-0, went into extra innings. The Pirates scored first to go up 1-0, and then Terrence, I believe it was, had a base hit to tie the game, and then the Pirates took the lead back, but then the Mets followed. But then the Mets were able to get 2 base runners on, and Luis Roberts Jr. came up to the plate, and when he saw a slider, or I think it was a slider, but when the pitch hit the top of the zone, Luis Roberts Jr. took it 300 yards. So major at bat from Luis Roberts Jr. Hopefully, that will be a huge turning point for the Mets as the Mets are looking for him to have a big year at the top of the order for the New York Mets. So that's where the Mets stand. They stand 2-1, and now the Mets. They will go on to they travel to St. Louis this week to take on the St. Louis Cardinals. First pitch will be tonight at 7:45. Mets will travel to take on the St. Louis Cardinals, who the St. Louis Cardinals are off to a good start too. So let's swing it over to the New York Yankees. So the Yankees had a great the Yankees had a great first couple of games. They were able to sweep the Giants in a 4-game series. The Yankees basically dominated in the first game as they just had I think it was like the second or third inning. They had they put up 4 runs in that inning, and and on Friday's game, or I believe it was Saturday's game. No, no, no. It was Friday's game where Cam Schwittler took the mound, and Cam Schwittler, I got to tell you, impressive stuff with the fastball, with the slider. He looked confident. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was Friday's game. So Cam Schwitler pitched 5 innings, only allowed 1 hit and 8 strikeouts, 0 earned runs, and 0 walks. That's an impressive performance. And we know Cam Schwitler came off a great postseason performance, and Yankees they're very confident that Cam Schwitler will become their ace. Garrett Cole will be back in Garrett Cole will be back in the summer. He's still rehabbing, still coming off of Tommy John surgery, but they're slowly trying to get him back into the rotation. And for the Yankees, that's still good news that Garrett Cole is on his way, is on the path to coming back and pitching for the New York Yankees. But the story for the New York Yankees, Cam Schwitler, and there's a lot of confidence that this young man will become the ace of the Yankees. And also, tremendous stuff from Aaron Judge. Had a tough first game, struck out 2 times, but then Judge was able to have 2 or 3 home runs, able to have 2 RBIs, um, 2 RBI games. Was able to go. Was able to go for 2 for 4 and in his at bats. So uh, much better performances by Aaron Judge, and Giancarlo Stanton had a huge impact in the series. I think Stanton, he had a couple of home runs and he was a big offensive threat for the Yankees. So a lot of optimism for the Yankees and some really great signs to see for the Yankees. Uh, Getting that first 4 game sweep. But the Yankees do get a test. They have to go on the road tonight and play the Seattle Mariners. And we know the Mariners were an American League championship finalist last year. And they got some quality players in Julio Rodriguez and Cal Raleigh, who just lost by an inch to Aaron Judge to the AL MVP voting. So that's going to be a tough series for the Yankees, as they will get a really tough test. So back to back 2 tough tests on the road for the Yankees. So but that's a good sign for the Yankees that they're already making a statement with their bullpen and with their offense, and showing that they can still compete for championships. So let's move over to hockey. So the Rangers won 3-0 yesterday against the Florida Panthers, and the Rangers, they're ranked second. They're ranked second currently, if I remember, in the draft lottery. Just behind the Vancouver Canucks to get the number 1 overall draft pick. So the Rangers, they're winning games of late, which is hurting uh, draft uh, their draft lottery chances of getting the first or second overall pick. But it'll be interesting to see what happens here. And the Islanders continue to push for a playoff race. And I want to cap things off with golf here. So major news yesterday at the Texas Valero Open. Gary Woodland, with his first victory. We know Gary Woodland. He's had a tough couple of months, had to have brain surgery. But yesterday was a monumental win for Gary Woodland. And I was just so excited to watch him get that victory. Gary Woodland, he's had a tough couple of months, has had a tough couple of months on the PGA Tour, but just seeing him get the win yesterday and seeing him make those putts on the 16th hole, on the back 9, all the way through the front 9. It was just impressive to see, and congratulations to Gary Woodland. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, the Masters is right around the corner. So we got Easter coming up, but then next Thursday, not this Thursday, next Thursday, the road to Augusta, the road to the green jacket begins, and we will see a lot of questions coming around. A lot of questions coming around to see who can win the Masters, and it'll be interesting to see a lot of good golfers playing some really good golf. We'll see if Rory can defend his green jacket. We'll see if Bryson or some of these players that have come back from the Live Tour, or we'll see if John Rahm or some other players from Live will make a statement in the Masters. But we'll see what happens here. But anyway, that's going to do it for our episode today. So thank you all so much for tuning in. We won't be here next year. It'll be Easter Monday, but we will be back to bring more news coverage about sports around happening Iona, New York, and the nation. Have a great day, everyone. Stay safe out there and enjoy the warm weather.